Hi, and thank you for joining me for this video. So what we have here is the Decathlon Quechua Air Seconds 4.2 fresh and black camping tent. Now, I've personally used this tent with my family for the past 2 years, and we've absolutely loved it. But in saying that, in this video, I'm going to tell you and I'm going to show you everything you need to know so you can decide if this is the right family tent for you. Now, everything you get comes in this well-made storage bag, but I have to say the storage bag is not only pretty big, it's also pretty heavy. When it comes to the size of the storage bag, the length comes in at around 75 centimeters and the width comes in at around 37 centimeters. Now, the packed weight comes in at 18.2 kilograms. So as I say, pretty heavy, but then again, you're not using this tent for backpacking. You're simply going to be lifting this tent straight out of your car or your van or whatever you're using straight to where you're going to be camping. Now, on the top of the storage bag, you get a couple of nice big carry handles, and I really like these because this tent is a bit heavy to carry on your own. You can do it, but it's a lot easier if you get someone to give you a hand when carrying this tent. You also get a couple of nice compression straps to help keep everything compressed right down in the storage bag. And then on the front, you get a load of information about the tent, but we're going to cover all of that anyway. And then lastly, you do get a nice big center zip, which creates a nice big opening. So it makes getting this tent out and then back in again a lot easier. Right, let's get everything out of the storage bag and have a look at what we get. So inside your storage bag, you will get some instructions. These will tell you what you should have inside your storage bag, but also on how to set up this tent. You then will get your tent rolled up. Now, your inner tent is already attached to your outer fly, and the guy lines are already attached. Now, the tent will come rolled up and kept together with these compression straps, but I have to say they're not the greatest, so I would change them out for some bungee cords. Now, you will get a little storage bag like this, a nice little Velcro storage bag, and inside that you'll get a mixture of pegs. You'll get some heavy duty pegs, and then you'll get some lighter shepherd hook pegs. You will then get a much bigger storage bag like your small one, a nice Velcroed storage bag, and inside that you'll get a couple of fiberglass poles. These are for your awnings, and then you'll get another slightly bigger pole, and this is to support the roof of the tent, but I will show you that when we get to it. And then lastly, you will get a spare repair pole should you need it, and then you will get a little bag, which is a nice touch, which has a spare valve in. It has a repair kit in, it has a spare guy line in, so a couple of little extras should you need them. Now, you don't get a footprint with this tent, but I would highly recommend that you buy a nice big piece of tarpaulin or something like that, just so you can put it underneath your tent, just to give it an extra layer of protection. Right, let's have a look at how to pitch this tent correctly. Now, because you've got an air tent, you're going to need an air pump. Now, you're welcome to use your own air pump if you've got one, but obviously it's important that your air pump has the right connection to fit this tent, but most importantly that it has a pressure gauge on, so you can keep an eye on the pressure when you're inflating this tent. Alternatively, you can go to Decathlon and buy one of these air pumps. They sell for around £25. What I like about them, they come with a couple of different connections. So apart from using this pump to inflate your tent, you can also use it to inflate other things. But most importantly, on the handle, it does have a pressure gauge, which, as I say, helps you keep an eye on that pressure when you're inflating your tent. Right. Let's get this tent set up. So the first thing you want to do, if you've got one, is lay out your footprint and then lay out your tent. You then want to grab your heavy duty pegs and go around and put one of these in each corner of the tent. Now the next thing to do is start inflating your poles or these arches. Now there are 4 of them, but before you can start inflating them, you will notice that the valves are not connected to your poles, so you just simply screw them straight in. So nice and easy. Now when you've done that, you are ready to start inflating, but as you can see on the pole, it says 7 psi or 5 bar. That's the maximum pressure you're going to be putting in each of these poles. Now when it comes to inflating these tent poles or arches, as mentioned, you have 4 of them. You've got 2 smaller poles or arches on the outside, and you've got 2 larger poles or arches on the inside. Now it's entirely up to you which poles or arches you want to inflate first. Everyone's got their own idea of what works best for them. So there's no wrong or right way. All that's left to do then is to connect this pump and start inflating your tent. Now, just a couple more things to mention. While you're inflating your tent, if your pump should disconnect from your valve, don't worry, because these are one-way valves, so no air will start escaping. Second of all, you can set this tent up on your own. It is easy enough. However, if you get someone to help you, you'll find it a lot easier. Now you've finished inflating your tent, the next thing to do is to grab your shepherd hook, ground pegs, and go round and peg out the rest of your tent, including your guy lines. The next thing you want to do is grab your awning poles. Now you have 2 awnings. You have one this side of the tent and you have one on the other side of the tent. Now all you have to do is pop your awning pole together, and then underneath your awning here you will see a pole sleeve. You simply just thread your pole through that pole sleeve, and then on each end underneath there are a couple of little cups where the ends of your awning poles just slot straight into. You then want to grab your final pole, which is this silver pole, and then on the inside of your tent on the roof you'll see you've got a little slot one side and you've got a little slot the other. All you do is take one end of your pole, put it in there. This pole is extendable, so just extend it along until the end of your pole just pops into that other slot. You can then just slightly pull the silver pole outwards so you get a little bit of tension, and then simply just clamp it closed. So that's going to, first of all, raise the ceiling of your tent up a little bit, but it's also going to help keep it nice and taut. So there you go, your tent's all set up. Now I haven't pegged out all the guy lines because I've just set this tent up very quickly just to give you a flavor of what it looks like. Now, as I said, you can set this tent up on your own and it'll probably take you about 15-20 minutes to set up. However, if you get someone to give you a hand, you'll probably do it in 10 to 15 minutes. But like everything in life, especially when it comes to setting up tents, the more you do it, the quicker you will get. Right, let's have a good look at this tent. So first impressions of this tent, I have to say I really like the look of this tent. Now this tent currently sells direct from Decathlon here in the UK for around £350. However, that's the sale price. It normally sells for around £450. So if you are interested in one of these tents, I'd get yourself down to Decathlon as soon as possible so you can save a nice little bit of money. Now, when it comes to the color of this tent, it just comes in the one color, which is classed as a cappuccino beige. It's basically just beige and sort of like a bright white. Now, it's not for everyone, but unfortunately, that's the only color on offer. I personally think it looks quite nice. Now, if you choose to purchase this tent, you will get a 2-year warranty with it. And then also they have a 365-day return. So if you buy this tent and you don't end up using it, you could just take it straight back and they will refund you. Now, if you need some extra bits for this tent, maybe you need some more guy lines or some extra ground pegs, you can go straight into Decathlon and they always have plenty of spares. On the other side of things, if you should damage this tent in any way, you can take this tent straight into Decathlon, and for a small charge they will fix it for you. Now this tent, as I say, you can buy direct from Decathlon, go in store and buy one, or you can order it online. Now if you are looking at this tent or any tent from Decathlon, I always recommend nearer the summertime, Decathlon put their big camping display out, and they have most of their tents set up, and it's a great chance for you to get right up close to these tents so you can go inside and have a look and see if it's the right tent for you before you outlay any money. Now when it comes to the outer fabric of this tent, it's made from polyester. It also has a hydrostatic head rating of 2000 millimeters, so it is completely waterproof. Now when it comes to waterproofing on Decathlon tents, I have to say, in all the years I've used Decathlon tents, I've never once had an issue with any waterproofing. I've also spoken to a lot of my friends that have owned Decathlon tents, and I've read a lot of reviews online, and no one has mentioned any issues with waterproofing. Now when it comes to wind resistance, this tent has been tested up to 37 miles per hour, and I can vouch for that. I had this tent out in about 33 to 35 miles per hour on a camping trip, and this tent stood fast. It didn't collapse at all. Now talking about waterproofing and wind resistance, one thing I do like with Decathlon, they do actually fully test their tents. So what they say on the ticket is exactly right. Now when it comes to your poles or your arches, these are covered with a 600 denier fabric, so super strong, and I've never got a puncture or experienced a puncture with these poles at all, and likewise I haven't heard anyone that's ever had an issue with these poles going down, unless it was a fault straight out of the factory. Now when it comes to this tent, as I said, the color is classed as a cappuccino beige. Now the white part of the tent is like a bright white, and that is the fresh side of this tent, because this tent is classed as a fresh and black. Now the fresh part of this tent, the outer fabric, will help reflect the sun, so in turn it's going to help keep inside your tent nice and cool. It also has a UPF 50 plus coating on, so it's going to help protect you from the harmful UV rays. Now with this tent, it is classed as the Decathlon Quechua Air Seconds 4.2 fresh and black. Now the 4 stands for 4 person, and the 2 just simply means it has 2 sleeping compartments. Now when it comes to air ventilation in a tent, it's super important, especially because it helps keep any condensation down. Now speaking about condensation, I have to say, with the great air ventilation you get on this tent, you get very little to no condensation. But in saying that, let me walk you around this tent and show you all the great ventilation you get with this tent. Now when it comes to ventilation, first of all, you've got your big outer door that can simply be unzipped and rolled up, giving you maximum ventilation. You then have an awning on both sides of your tent. Now if you look underneath the awning, you can see that the air can go right over the top of your tent to the other side and out underneath the other awning. As you can see, the black across there, that is mesh, so apart from letting in a nice bit of airflow, it's going to stop any insects from getting inside your tent. If you come round to this side of your tent, and it's exactly the same on the other side of the tent, you've got some ventilation there. You can also open a little bit of ventilation on the inside of the sleeping compartments. And then finally, right at the back of your tent, obviously, as I mentioned, you've got that other awning, and the air can go right underneath and over the top. You've also got this window at the back of your tent. Now, the back-in panel is zipped up at the moment, but as soon as you drop that down, you've got a nice mesh window, which in turn will also help let in a nice bit of air. Now, when it comes to the outer door on this tent, you can simply just unzip it to both sides and then just roll and toggle it up at the top, or you can unzip it both sides and you can pull it right out. And then if you buy a couple of extendable poles, you can connect the corners of the door to the poles, guide them out, and then you will have a nice little canopy across the top. Now on this door, you do have a window. Now behind this window, you do have a fabric panel, so you can undo that fabric panel so you can have a look out the window. But then of an evening, you can just pop the panel behind this window. You can do it up again, and that's going to give you a little bit of privacy. Now, when it comes to the zips on this outer door, they are both covered with storm flaps with Velcro, so if the wind picks up, nothing's going to be flapping around. Now, a word on the zips. I don't know what brand of zips they are, but I have to say they are fantastic. They are really good, durable zips. And whether it's these zips on the outside or the internal zips, I promise you, they don't snag, they don't catch. I've had no issues with the zips whatsoever, and they're certainly not gonna let you down. Now, before I roll and toggle this outer door up, I just want to show you on the bottom of the door, you can see it does have like a little skirt. So when this outer door is zipped up, nothing's gonna come underneath your door and into your tent. Also, if you look at the floor of the tent, it's like a bathtub floor which comes up. So once again, nothing is going to come underneath and into your tent. But what you can do with this little lip along the front, it can be undone both sides and you can lay it flat, which is a great idea, especially during the day, because this could potentially become a trip hazard. Also, if you're wanting to sweep or mop out your tent, with this undone and laying flat, it makes life a lot easier. Now, when it comes to the size of the living space in this tent, the length will come in at around 260 centimeters and the width will come in at around 210 centimeters. Now, the internal height comes in at around 195 centimeters, which is around 6'4", so plenty high enough for most people to stand up in. Now, you do get your little sleeping pods on each side, which we'll have a look at. Now, on the outside of your sleeping pods, you do get a couple of little storage pockets both sides. You also get a couple of little lamp hooks on the ceiling. So a really nice size. You can get some stuff in here to store. You could put 4 chairs in here of an evening if it's starting to get a bit chilly. So yeah, a real nice space. Now, as mentioned earlier, at the back of your tent, you do have another mesh window, but you do have this fabric panel behind it, so of an evening you can keep it zipped up to give you a little bit of privacy. But during the day, it simply can just be unzipped, and then instead of rolling it up and toggling it up, all you have to do is just shove it right down the back, and that, as I say, is going to give you a nice view, but also it's going to get in, it's going to let in a nice little bit of airflow, but at the same time keep out any insects. Also, don't forget, on the ceiling you've got a nice bit of mesh, so that's going to encourage a nice bit of airflow, but also help keep out any insects. Now, when it comes to the internal fabric of the inside of this tent, it too is made from polyester. Now, the floor has a hydrostatic head rating of 2,400 millimeters, and like the outer floor, it is completely waterproof. Now, on the inside of your tent, both sides, you can see you've got your little sleeping areas, and you can also notice the black fabric. As mentioned earlier, this is the fresh and black version, this tent. Now, the black fabric is designed for 2 reasons. One, it's designed to help keep inside your sleeping areas nice and cool. But secondly, it's going to help knock out a lot of the light, which is really handy in the summertime, because those early mornings in the summer, it gets light nice and early. And as soon as that sun comes up, bang, those kids are awake. So by having it nice and dark in your sleeping areas, it's going to help you and your kids sleep better and longer. Now, going back to the floor of the living space, what I like about it, it is completely zipped most of the way around except by the door. So nothing's going to come up underneath the tent and into your tent, and being able to unzip it and remove this floor is also a bonus. Now, looking a bit closer at these sleeping pods both sides, as you can see on the top of both of the sleeping areas, you have a little window at the top. Now you've got mesh on the outside, and then you've got another fabric panel on the inside. So you can open that fabric panel on the inside to let a little bit more light in and also give you a bit more airflow if you wish, or you can just simply keep everything zipped up to keep it as dark as possible. Now, when it comes to the sleeping areas, and remember what I'm showing you this side is exactly the same on the other. The outer doors simply unzip, roll and toggle to the side. When it comes to the size of the sleeping areas, their length comes in at around 260 centimeters and the width comes in at around 140 centimeters. Now, when it comes to the internal height, as you get in the sleeping area, the height is around 150 centimeters. But as you go further in, the sides of the tent start dropping down and it drops down to around 130 centimeters. As you can see, you've got a little ventilation window at the bottom there, which we're going to take a closer look at in a minute. You've got another little bit of ventilation at the top, which goes to the outside, as I showed you. Now, hopefully you can see these, but you do get a couple of storage pockets each side, and then you also get a little lamp hook at the top. So not a bad size sleeping area for two people. Now, when it comes to this ventilation window at the back of your tent, you have a much more solid bit of mesh on the inside, which also keeps inside the sleeping area darker. But what you can then do is open it up and you have another piece of mesh which is going to encourage more airflow. But alternatively, you can even undo the bit of mesh that's there. Both the internal bits of fabric and mesh can be rolled and toggled up, so you can look completely outside your tent. But also you have a little cord here and a little cord at the bottom that if you connect them, you can then pull the outer fly of your tent up to give you maximum airflow. So my final thoughts on this tent, well, I have to say I absolutely love this tent. This tent has never let me down, it's never leaked and it's never collapsed. And you know what? For a fairly cheap tent, this tent has given me and my family some great camping holidays, which have been absolutely priceless. So in the grand scheme of things, is this the best family camping tent ever? Well, in my opinion, it's definitely one of the best. But let me know what you think about this tent and if this is the right family tent for you. Now, I think in this video, I've covered pretty much everything. But if there's any questions you have, please pop them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But in saying that, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And lastly, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. But until next time, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.